What do you think about the Jake Paul and Ben Askren? I know you have some input on this, but I just had Ben Askren on the podcast. We had a great podcast, got a lot of views and a lot of feedback. It's obviously a big topic right now. I shared my opinion on why I think Ben Askren has an advantage. Aside from everybody just looking at the fact of who's the better boxer, there's a lot more to play when you're talking about an Olympic athlete who always finds a way to win against guys like Douglas Lima, against guys like Robbie Lawler, against guys who are some of the most vicious strikers in the world, and a guy who's very limited on his own striking. He's still found a way to win in a sport where we've seen many very, very, very good wrestlers fight strikers and not be able to find a way to win, and they get knocked out, and they get a concussion. So he's a man who finds a way to win. He's a man who has a work ethic that's going to be like nothing Jake Paul's ever had in front of him. So we shared a little bit difference of opinion, or not difference of opinion, but shared a little insight that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration. What are your thoughts on that fight and how it's going to go down?
Well, you hit it on the nail. Ben Askren is a multi-level athlete at the highest level, and not just wrestling, and MMA. I mean, this guy is a high-level jiu-jitsu guy. He's high-level in so many different areas, that you can't ever count him out. As a boxer, he's not much of a boxer, but as a fighter, he's a big fighter. And sometimes you don't need to be a boxer to beat a fighter. You have to be a fighter, and Ben Askren is a fighter. So, on the technical side and the better boxing, Jake Paul's got that all day long. The power side, Jake Paul. The speed, Jake Paul. The size advantage, Jake Paul. The experience in boxing, Jake Paul. But the actual fight, at that world level competition, Ben Askren. So if Jake can't put him away, he better be able to have enough energy to save himself past the fifth, fourth round on up. Yeah. Because if he cannot put Ben away, he better be able to last the last 3 rounds. Because if he's not, he's going to drown. Because Ben will drown him, and it's a situation where it's a guy that knows how to wrestle, the guy knows how to play dirty boxing really well, versus a guy that just knows how to box, that doesn't really know how to play dirty boxing. Jake Paul does not know how to play dirty boxing. So if Ben can come out there and play that game, then he's got a great chance. If he can't get Jake Paul into a dirty boxing scenario, it's going to be a long night for Ben. I favor Jake only because of the size and the fact that he's been boxing and training boxing, and he's got really good coaching. And BJ Flores, who's himself an ex-contender, heavyweight contender, he's trained really well. And, he's specifically ahead of the game as far as, Ben. Ben hasn't been boxing, and, he's been fighting, but he hasn't been boxing. So I give the edge to Jake Paul because of that reason, but don't be surprised if Ben drowns him.
I think the drowning thing is what's going to happen, in my opinion, because I think people don't consider when you get into a combat sport, a fighting sport, especially with a high-level athlete, like a really high-level athlete, not like a basketball player or a video gamer. I'm talking about like an Olympian, a guy who's been in there and fought and thrown punches, with the best of them. It's a whole different fight. And for me, in my experience, when I got in there with Loazo, when I got in there with Joe Riggs for the first time, when I got in there with these guys that were real experienced and had a lot of like fights, just that aura, that different, the different mentality going in there, it drains you automatically. Your adrenaline's going, and it automatically zaps your cardio a notch down, just being in the octagon or being in the ring with someone like that. Then when you start going, and I think Jake Paul's key to victory is to get a quick knockout and try to knock him out and put him out fast using that, what you said, that reach and that size advantage and his boxing technique. I think when that doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen, that's going to really mess him up some more. That's going to play on his mind some more and knock him down another notch when he can't hit Ben, or he hits him and it doesn't knock him out because Ben's been hit with 4-ounce gloves. I mean, look at the beating he took from Robbie Lawler. I mean, he didn't get knocked out from that, and Robbie Lawler hit him with freaking 100 punches with the 4-ounce glove and every other thing you can imagine, and he was still fighting and still managed to win the fight. So to think that Ben Askren's going to come out there with a 10-ounce glove and hit him one time and he's going to fall down is just, in my mind, is ludicrous. And so now you're looking at composure, and you're looking at how strong his mind is and how he's going to his comfort level in the ring, and you just don't have that when you're 2 fights into a career, especially when you're fighting guys at that level, basketball players and video gamers. You're not going to be in there and be composed and relaxed and conserving your energy and moving around. You're going to be like a ball of energy, like I was, like everybody was when they first started out. You look at these guys with 2 or 3 fights, it's always like the first guy that connects wins, because these guys are going like 100 miles an hour to try to win the fight. And I just think that if he somehow manages to hit him on the chin in the right spot, he can win the fight. But if he doesn't, like you said, I think he's going to get drowned. He's going to get completely drowned. And I think it's going to be a worse loss than Nate Robinson. It's not going to be like a one-punch knockout. It's going to be like a non-technical punches coming at him from Ben Askren, and he's going to be running and exhausted and breathing hard and cowering down and covering up, and it's going to look way worse to me than it would be to just get hit one time and fall down, running away from somebody who's just pounding you out and they're fresh and you're exhausted.
It could happen that way if he doesn't know how to relax and go past the 4th and 5th round, staying in a relaxed state. If he freaks out, like you're saying, if everything you're saying is going to happen, then he's going to lose and he's going to get drowned.
Yeah.
My hope is, not my hope, my thought is that BJ Flores is such a hell of a coach, and he knows what he's doing, that he's going to prepare him for all that. And if he can prepare him for that, slow him down, don't be in no rush, pick your shots, take your shots, outpoint him here and there, don't go for the KO. If he does that, it'll be a one-sided beatdown. If he does that. If he does not do that, then I could see him getting drowned in the later rounds. Not earlier, the later rounds, because he'll be too strong early. But the later rounds, I can definitely see him get drowned if he can't learn how to pace himself and go past the 4th and 5th round.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And if he can listen to BJ and actually take that advice, I agree with you. But he would have to go against every single instinct in his body, because being inexperienced as he is, every instinct is going to be exhaustion, panic, adrenaline, confusion if things don't work out the way that he expects by running out there and knocking them out. So he's going to have to go against every single instinct in his head and to stay composed and to stay relaxed and to do what BJ says. And if he does that, hats off to him.
But you got to start it now. Yeah, you got to start it now. You got to tell him now. He's got to start now. You got to start now. You got to start that mentality now, because you can't wait for the fight to start. It's got to be now. He's got to train him now on how to relax and how to not let yourself go too fast. Slow it down. Be in control. Control him with your jab. Control him with your power shots. Just stay relaxed while you're doing this. Staying in the pocket, getting out of the pocket. All those things are very important for him to do in a relaxed state. And I believe that BJ Flores is that type of coach. I watched him a little bit, and I was very impressed with the way he was training Jake Paul. So that one advantage that Jake Paul has is a better coach than the other guys do. I'm sorry, but he does. He's got a good coach, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you got a good coach who's been with you, and he's been with you a long time, in training you got an advantage. And on top of the fact he's been boxing longer than Ben, he's also got a coach that specifically focuses on boxing. That's an advantage too, when you're a good coach, and he has a good coach.
And the downside from talking to Ben, I'm obviously rooting for the MMA guy in this fight, but the downside from talking to Ben is it doesn't really sound, Ben's a world-class athlete. He's going to get his training in. He's going to find the right help that he needs. But it sounds like, as of a week ago when I did the podcast with him, it doesn't sound like he has his plan yet. He doesn't really have, like you said, Jake's got his coaches. He's got great coaches. He's got obviously all the money and the facilities that he needs, and he's using them, and he's training hard. It doesn't sound like Ben has everything set up yet. It doesn't sound like Ben has the coach yet and doesn't have the program yet, and he's kind of just winging it, and that scares me a little bit on the side of rooting for Ben, because, and then I'm going to ask you one more thing too, from your experience. So I had to get over my composure problems and all that stuff by myself before I actually had a coach that would work with me and actually teach me boxing and striking and stuff, like yourself and whoever else I was with before you. I was already kind of past that beginning stage of what I'm talking about with Jake Paul, where you use all your energy, you're fired up, and you gash yourself out. Do you think in a case like Jake Paul, because he has so much assets and such a great trainer from the beginning in that lower level like he has, Can he learn that and get over that, you think, in sparring by having the right sparring partners, put that pressure on him and him having to get used to that enough that he can actually go out there and be composed at such a small quantity of fights? Or do you think that's something that he just has to get from fighting?
No, he can get that through sparring in the gym, and having the right sparring partners, putting the pressure, the right coach, and telling them when to relax. And a good advantage for him is that Ben's not a hard puncher. He's one of those kind of guys, he hits you, you go, oh, he hit me.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those lights out type punches. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities to come back at him. So it's not like, one shot and you're done. Now, but on the other hand, it could be one shot and he's done if Jake catches him properly. I mean, that boy got power, man.
He does, yeah.
I watched him and I said, you look at his Instagram and he has a bunch of videos in there where he's knocking people out. And let me tell you something. In all the years I've been involved in the boxing gym, 30-something years in and out of the boxing gyms, I've never seen that. I myself have never had that many guys that I have videos of, doing that. Never. Yeah. So this guy here has got some serious power is what I'm saying. So if his coaching staff can get him relaxed and not go too crazy where he burns out in the first 3 rounds, man, we're going to see. It's one of those fights that, it's very interesting because you just don't know. You don't know who's going to win. Like, for instance, Logan Paul and Mayweather. Come on, give me a break. 0-2 versus the greatest boxer of all time. Yeah. You lost to nobodies, and now you're gonna fight Mayweather. Give me a break. Who wants to see that?
I think they postponed it.
Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see something like that. I don't even care.
Yeah.
But you know what? If Jake Paul fought Mayweather, if he gets by Ben Askren, I might be interested in that. But again, we're talking about the greatest boxer of all time, probably, So even though he's still past his prime, he's still the greatest boxer. He still has so much in the tool, and even though size is a difference, but not when you're that great of a boxer. Size doesn't really mean much.
Yeah. No, you're right. The moving around and speed is the key, and that's where Floyd is obviously better. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think that fight's postponed, which pretty much I think means canceled. I don't think people were interested because they tried to pre-sell that fight and they probably didn't sell anything.
But when you got Jake Paul fighting Ben Askren, and all of a sudden you got Floyd fighting Logan, I'm sorry, but all of a sudden that went like out the door.
Yeah, I'm way more interested in Jake Paul.
What's more interesting is Jake Paul fighting Logan Paul than Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul.
It's a win-win for everyone.
In that, the two brothers, and these two guys are crazy enough to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if they would actually, but maybe they would.
I think they are. I think they're crazy enough to do it. I think so.
I like Logan. Actually, I like Logan the best, but I think he's insecure about his boxing because of his record, and he's obviously he's a big guy and he's okay, but I think that 0-2 record is going to mess with his mind. But Jake Paul seems to be, in his mind, he's a savage, so that's a good thing to have. And like we say to AK, he doesn't know how to lose yet. That's important. When you mentally don't know how to lose, that's an advantage. And Logan knows how to lose twice. He doesn't know how to win. That's the problem. So he's going in with a serious mental disability. Whereas Jake Paul, he doesn't know how to lose. All he knows is when the fight's over, both times his hand was raised, and that's what is in his mind. And that's a huge thing to have in your mind.
And he annihilated the guy. You see what he did to that Nate Robinson guy?
Yeah, he did.
My gosh,
he did.
I mean, that just no competition. His power was just too much.
Yeah.
And obviously he can't come at Ben Askren like that because he's going to gas.
Yeah.
He can't do that with Ben. Cannot do that. That's where Ben's going to drown him. If he comes at Ben Askren like he did Robinson, Ben is going to drown him. I'm sorry. You're not going to come at Ben Askren like that. You better pick your shots. You better slow it down. You better just take your time because you're trying to go haymaker on him like that. Because Ben Askren is like, people forget, that guy can take a punch. People think, he got knocked out by Masvidal. Well, that was a freaking flying knee.
Yeah.
And he went into it, It's a whole different story of someone, hitting him at the knee where he's not going into it. He went into it. That's like a two trains colliding type thing. So that's why. But no, Ben Askren could take a shot, bro. So don't expect him to get hit one shot and be out. You know, I know anything's possible, but I wouldn't expect that.
It's going to be a fight, and three things to back you up on that is first of all, Ben's got footwork. Boxing footwork and wrestling footwork is different, but wrestling footwork is still footwork, and it's movement, and it's getting to and from your opponent, and it's getting to and from your opponent in a position where you can control your opponent. He knows how to move. Number two, he's hard to hit. He's had a career where he's been trying to avoid getting hit because he's not been a striker. So he's an expert at not getting hit. And number three, he's got the same gloves as Logan Paul, the 10-ounce gloves to hold up and Muhammad Ali, George Foreman protect himself. Just cover up and let him blow his load and get exhausted and then come back and get him later. Yeah. So for those three reasons, those are things that Jake's got to think about that he can do that's going to slow him down significantly if he blows his load.
Well, think about the other big one is the dirty wrestling,
and that
there's nobody better than inside clinching and grabbing and punching, rabbit punching than wrestlers. They're the best at that. And if you don't know how to work with that, you'll get tired.
Yep.
And he can drown you. He won't get tired. He can pummel all day long with you like that. But Jake may not be able to do that. So he is going to have to learn to stay relaxed, pick his shots, don't be in no hurry. Do not be in no hurry, because if he's in a hurry, he could get drowned.
Yeah,
he could get drowned. And I favor Jake, but I'm not going to be shocked if Ben pulls it off. Not at all.
Yeah. No, that's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. That's exhausting, the clinch work, and especially if he's getting clinched and punched in the face the whole time before they break it up. He takes 2 or 3 punches every time. He's going to be getting frustrated because he's going to hate every time they clinch up. He's getting moved in positions he's never been in and getting punched in the face, even though they're not hard. So yeah, it's interesting. So we can agree on that for sure.